Hi everyone, welcome back to ASBX. It's been a whirlwind of a couple of days. Lots and lots of exciting talks has been happening. I don't think anyone can really absorb that much information one time. So fortunately, we have all the recordings available on our YouTube channel, so everyone can take your time to go through them, and also it's freely available if you want to revisit some of those interesting talks. Today, I personally can't believe we've already come to the closing because we haven't really finished yet, and there's still so much more material that needs to be shared with everyone. But it has been a really, really interesting couple of days, and I can confidently say that everyone who watches any of the videos would learn something new that they wouldn't have known before. And I personally learned a lot. And I haven't even gone through all of them yet, I have to admit. Yeah, so I want to first of all thank all our speakers for such a great job. And I'm pretty sure I can say on behalf of everyone that the live panel discussion has been very informative, very exciting, and it's really great to be able to bring so many experts under a specific panel to discuss one of the theme topics. And I think it's really interesting. And I think personally for me, it gives a glimpse of where space biology and space health and space in general is heading, and all the exciting opportunities and activities that's going to be happening next year. So just again, want to thank all our speakers and also our attendees for taking the time to join in those live discussion panels, asking really thought-provoking and interesting questions, and really just tease out their experiences and their knowledge, which is absolutely fantastic. Of course, I need to give a shout out and a special thank to all our supporters from New South Wales Government, UTS, Mayo Clinic, and the Australian Space Agency for supporting this conference. And of course, our sponsors from Frontiers, BKSH, CellLink, Explorer, Crazy by Work, Amazon Web Service, and EBD. Make sure we've had some of their videos on our channel as well. Make sure you check them out and really understand, what is it that they're providing that's helping us pioneer and also disrupt, space biology and health research, because they are really good providers and very world leading in what they do. So they provide excellent products and services. So be sure to check them out and find ways to work with them. So for today's closing, what we would like to do is to go around our founders and committee members to really, for each of them to really highlight, the themes that they've been, managing, to really give us a rundown, a summary of what's been happening for the last couple of days, what has, really, intrigued them, and also some final thoughts, and in preparation for next year, which will definitely start earlier. So we'll start off with Christine joining us all the way from the US to kick off this closing ceremony. Over to you, Christine.
Yes, hi everybody. Thank you so much, Josh. I also see that some people that have zoomed in this evening were also in our live session earlier today on the US side. I have to say it has been so far a huge pleasure to really participate and be a part of those discussion panels. In the US, we're only halfway through. We have still 2 more to go tomorrow. So it's like speaking into the future right now or the past. I'm not entirely sure where we are on the timeline here, but it's always exciting. I want to share a couple of things, I guess, that I've taken away. So from our 2 live sessions that we had, where we were talking specifically about physiological adaptations and also how do we prepare best to live in space. For the first topic, it was really interesting that there's a great need for us to actually capture more data, but actually more on even an invasive scale, right? That just monitoring somebody's heart rate and monitoring things from the outside is most likely not going to do it. So we need better models and we need more ability to capture samples, and worst case even from astronauts or humans in general. The other thing that was really interesting that's going to be a huge challenge going forward, and I'm sure everybody in the audience can agree with that, is the overall healthcare need and how that can be addressed, whether that is with specific, actual health needs in terms of illness, and whether they're surgical skills or internal medicine skills on board of each of these missions, but also what about medication stability? What about pharmacokinetics? Those kind of things are still hugely unclear. We really know very little about it. So there's so much more to discover and so much more that we need to figure out even before having the ability to have long-term presence in space, and especially in deep space, where you can't just turn around in a couple of hours and come back. The other thing that really came through today in today's panel about long-term living in space was that we're really in need of more data and of actually diverse data, which is actually something that's true in all sciences and in all areas, that we're going to have to make sure that the populations we're looking at really resembles everybody that is going to go into space, and also in return, or in turn also resembles who's living on Earth. And for that, what was really kind of nice, what came out today, and really tied into the opening and how Rowena phrased this, that we need to come together as that village, right? And to have the ability to collaborate across borders, because science doesn't care about borders. And our advances into space, even more than other things in science, is going to be really reliant on having the brightest minds and the greatest innovators from every country come together. And I really appreciated one of the panelists really pointing out today how much she enjoyed having a symposium like this that is so much more international than most of the symposia you see, because there's so much protection within borders and so much kind of grouping together. So I thought that was really encouraging, the global science approach to bring things together, and for us to remove those barriers and to work on collaborating across countries and across those borders. And yeah, with that, I'll give it back to Josh real quick. And I really want to thank everybody who's organized this on the Australian side. Thank you so much, Annabelle, Scarlett. I know you've put a huge amount of effort into this. It's great to see your faces again. Thank you, Rowena and Josh, for really driving this. And big shout out. It's been a great opportunity on our side, and we'll enjoy another great day tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Christine. That's very good to hear. And I'm very happy that the reaction from everyone has been really positive, and I think you echo a lot of the sentiments of why we're doing this is really to break that global barrier, get everyone to come together. But I think you also highlight what I personally hear from all the other panels is that there's still a lot that we need to do. There's still a lot of unknowns, but this also means that there's still a lot of opportunities, and I don't see it to be resolved in the next couple of years. So I think in the next couple of years, there's going to be a lot of activities, and I think this will take time, like most things, especially dealing with space. So hopefully we're able to highlight on a lot of these to all the global community. So thank you so much for that summary. It's really exciting, and for those people who because of the time difference with the US, as I mentioned, you can watch all those discussion panels on our YouTube channel. We'll go over now to Rowena, get her thoughts on her experience for the last couple of days.
Thank you very much, Josh. And I would like to say a huge thank you to all the members of the team who've worked so hard to put on such a fantastic event. And I think everybody's been blown away by just the quality of the panels and presentations and all the interesting information that's been conveyed. So I think we've really hit on a winner here. And I'm also personally very passionate about the idea of the international collaboration. So it's been so great to see that come together really well. And I'm definitely looking forward to watching the US panels. I think that will no doubt expand my horizons even further. So yesterday I made the mistake of, I thought, oh, I'll scroll through the panels that I've moderated and I'll just jot down a few things. And on re-listening them, there was just so many fantastic comments and such great information from the panelists that I'm now very deep into a multi-page Google Doc, but I will try to pick out a few interesting points that people may not know already from general knowledge. And one thing is that a really interesting thing that we found out from analogues and spaceflight is that not all muscles are affected by loss of gravity or bed rest. So of course, our anti-gravity muscles are affected, but other ones aren't. And something that I didn't know was that when the ISS astronauts are working on the resistance exercise machine in space, they actually have a direct video link back to the European Astronaut Centre in Cologne. And apparently there's a physio sitting there watching them and trying to give them feedback about their positioning. And this isn't physiological monitoring, but it's human monitoring, and it's vital for them. So one of the questions for long duration spaceflight is, how do we compensate for the absence of that personalised attention when it comes to exercise and making sure that astronauts are using the right muscles in the right way when they're exercising. A really fascinating thing that Dr. Julie Hydes mentioned, Professor Hydes mentioned, that she's looking forward to is in the context of COVID-19 and long COVID and the devastating effects that have been seen on people who've been ventilated for long periods, that we can actually probably really learn from that from a rehab perspective, to perhaps apply that to what it would be like after a long duration mission, or even vice versa, with long-term missions inform how we do rehab here on Earth. And long COVID affects every system in the body, and of course space is the same. Another little thing that not everyone might know is that because of the pressure changes in the head, that the pressure around the eye can change, and that can actually cause astronauts' refractive vision to change, and so they can become hyperopic, so they can get long-sighted, and so they actually need to take a range of different glasses up into space to help to compensate for that. But fortunately, it seems that the colour vision and visual perception doesn't seem to be affected. And we were very lucky. We had a guest in our first panel that I moderated, Dr. Kim Prisk, who's done a lot of research with NASA over a period of about 40 years. And he mentioned that there are various things that are important for long-term spaceflight. Duct tape is one, and Tabasco sauce is another one. And those are very important in terms of keeping people happy, and Tabasco is a carefully guarded resource. Because one of the things that happens in space, once again with the fluid changes towards the head, is that the sense of smell and sense of taste is blunted. So food needs to be more spicy than it would be on Earth in order to be enjoyed as much. And a lot of our panelists talked about the challenges that we're going to encounter with the transition between gravitational environments, and how we need to learn more about how people are interacting with space around them in partial gravity environments, and in particular things like tactile sensing and manipulation, because on the moon and on Mars, people are going to be working outside a lot of the time. And that runs into the issue of spacesuits. And we're actually going to need different spacesuits for things like an ISS CVA to what we're going to need on the surface of the Moon and what we're going to need on Mars. And that's partly to do with the differential gravities, but also on Mars, even though it only has a thin atmosphere, the pressure that the atmosphere actually exerts. One little throwaway that a lot of people don't know is that bacteria and viruses actually become more virulent in space. So we want to avoid infectious disease a lot more in space than we do on Earth, and particularly because our immune system becomes blunted in space as well. So it could be a bit of a perfect storm, more virulent bacteria, less effective immune system. And in the second panel, there are just a couple of important things that I'll mention. We talked a lot about the type of people who should be going on these long duration missions, and that seems to be a common theme in a lot of the panels. And people were very clear that mixed gender teams are really important. And we also need to think about people's psychological capacity to deal with the unknowns that they're going to be encountering. So on Earth, people will react differently to different types of emergencies, for instance, a flood versus a pandemic. So we need people who have the resilience and psychological stability to be able to cope proactively with the unexpected. And in the second panel, all the panelists said they were really glad that the Space Agency had been established here in Australia, but they're really keen to see the Space Agency opening doors for Australian scientists and clinicians who are really, really capable to be able to interact more with the international community. And that the Space Agency shouldn't just be about business, it should be about space research, and it should also be about space medicine, sort of proactively having that component. And I think I might leave it there because I don't want to hog the whole session, but thank you very much for the opportunity to sum those up.
No, thank you so much, Rowena. I think you touched on quite a lot of the key points about humans in space. The mental health aspect, the infectious disease and the immunity. Then I think these are again a lot of challenges that we really don't have a clear solution for. And if we are serious about being in space for the long term, these are issues that we need to be able to manage properly. So thank you for that. And I think, and like you, I enjoy those panels and the discussions that were being mentioned in there. And I think it highlights a lot of the key issues. And yeah, I know, as especially this year with privatization, a lot more private citizens going to space, we're going to get more people in space. But how do we mitigate a lot of these concerns, whether they're up there or when they return back to Earth? How do we mitigate those are critical. They're very important. So thank you so much for that, for your summary and highlight. And now this year, as I mentioned before, we've expanded into space STEM, and we're very proud and happy to have Jackie join us, and also she's organized a very good panel of speakers on space STEM. And I think this is not only from a perspective of younger people trying to learn more about or getting involved, but also for teachers and instructors alike to really understand how can they get involved and how can they communicate these messages to younger generations or students. I think that's very important because often or not, teachers aren't really well versed or have the capacity to learn more about how can they communicate space, so to speak, to a more diverse audience. So we're very grateful that Jackie can support us this way. And what we're seeing this year is just the beginning, a stepping stone into what will become a much bigger component of the symposium. So I'd like to kindly ask Jackie to give us her thoughts on why she invited these speakers and what her thoughts on how we can better promote and continue to advance and expand our promotion of space STEM activities. Over to you, Jackie.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much, Joshua. And it's been an amazing few days. It's just a whirlwind and I was on the astronaut big 4-hour thing, learning yoga and doing all this stuff. It was so cool. But in my classroom, I used to do that, get the kids to come in every day after lunch, put their hands on their knees, relax, count to 10. And I just thought, I was doing astronaut training in my classroom and I didn't even know I was doing it, right? So, and that's how it should be. It should be a whole lot of skill sets that we're transferable across everything. So that's what we try and do with us. And I've got to say, the whole sending the wattle seeds to the space station has just gone crazy. We have over 180,000 kids involved in our wattle seed program alone. And a few days ago, I've started a new project with a school, just in the school itself, for year 5, 6 and 7 students. And currently we're working with 5 schools from the United Arab Emirates and 5 schools in New South Wales. And we're and it's girls, so it's all girl groups. And we're going to showcase that in the Dubai Expo in January and in Women and Girls Week. So we'll be in the Australian Pavilion, and we're going to have the 5 UAE schools representing the teams, and that they've created these space STEM projects together. So it's what they're capable of doing with the resources they have and cross-collaborating across the world. We're getting wait lists of schools already, and we've only started the project in October. So it's things are great, very, very busy, and it's very inspiring working with teachers who are just, I don't know, game enough to have a go, starting with the possible and moving into the impossible. And with what we do and everyone that we work with, that includes Liam Kennedy from ISS Above, Greg Chamatoff, former NASA astronaut, flight directors from NASA, all these people helping us to outreach across the world. And what we try and do is just make kids understand that they can do this stuff, but we also bring the parents on the journey, because without the parents understanding what the dream is, we can't possibly get everyone enthusiastic about the new space industry. So One Giant Leap specialises in community, getting parents on board, working with teachers and kids so that we can move them into what we need, which is the workforce of the future, but with skills that are transferable, so that they know that they're doing teamwork, they're collaborating, problem solving, creative thinking, all of those things wrapped up in the programs that we offer. So due to technical difficulties yesterday, we couldn't run our STEM panel, but if anyone watches all our STEM stuff, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. And if you want to be involved, especially with our wattle program, we have all this data we're collecting. It's out there. So if anyone wants to join in to find out what exactly is happening with the wattle, we are more than happy to bring you on board, because I'm not an academic or a science researcher. My background is primary school teaching. So I've got the data. So if anyone wants to come along and find out what exactly went on from these wattle seeds for 7 months on board the ISS, let me know. And Rowena, your Tabasco sauce thing, I want to get Vegemite on board the space station. So I've been working on it, because I think it would be an awesome experiment. How much could they tolerate on Earth? And when after a month on the space station, would they actually eat it like you put it on? People put it without knowing how strong the flavor is. So I'm working on that. So if anyone wants to help me do the Vegemite experiment on the ISS, I think it would be awesome, because heaps of people hate it. So I figured if we did it, we might actually market it back to Bega or whatever and make some money, and then we could do more research. But anyway, I've loved it. I feel so welcome. And I really want to thank Annabelle and Scarlett for their hard work. And I'm looking forward to next year. And if anyone wants to contact me, you can either come through here or you can contact me at onegiantleap@bigpond.com. but I've loved it, and I'm really looking forward to next year.
Thank you so much, Jackie. And Jackie highlighted a lot of the key points on the astronaut program. That was really fun. I mean, I suddenly realized how not flexible I am. That's for the yoga session. So something personally I have to work on. Yeah, so that has been really good. And I think Jackie echoed a really good theme is that about cross collaboration between countries, especially on the STEM front. And I'm seeing a lot of that, and a lot of teachers, they want to be able, and parents want to be able to promote that, but they don't know how. So hopefully we're able to kickstart something in which we can show them or demonstrate to them how they can be more involved. And I think it's also critically important is that how do we demonstrate a lot of these skills are transferable and that there is an industry, given that in the future, everything will become a space economy. I also want to, also talk about the Vegemite. I definitely am one of those people that don't particularly love Vegemite. My son definitely loves it. But I think it also really, tease out how do what we consider traditional companies become involved in the space economy. And I think it's probably a good moment to also share with everyone that yesterday we had a secret live discussion panel in which we discussed with a creative director from RGA, also from Japan as well, and also a fashion designer. How do we actually integrate fashion into spacesuits and that ergonomic? I think that's an aspect that has never really been taken too seriously. It has primarily been focused on the engineering side. So if this is something of interest, have a look at. And I think it was really informative. Personally, what was the highlight of that panel was now that there are more humans going into space, it is about the human experience. How do we manage that experience? And this, as Rowena was saying, this could be anything from the mental experience to the physical experience. And we're seeing, of course, more private citizens paying big money to go into space. So with that kind of cash contribution, there will be also expectations. So how do we address those expectations? And this is, I guess, a new form of what we call luxury travel, because it's not something that you can fly economy class type thing, but there's only a selected few people who can afford this. And of course, that comes with different expectations. So I think we are starting to move into this human element, human experience of space. And that experience can also be here on Earth, how we experience it as well. So, that was a really good discussion panel looking at space, health and biology from a very fresh perspective. So I would really love it to encourage people to watch that as well. And I think finally, touching on Vegemite, on space food. Let's all face it, we're all foodies here. We all love food, so how do we get better food up there? And I think there's a lot of things happening. And more important, how do we get more traditional companies to be involved in space food? We saw last week, Heinz tomato sauce. They started promoting about their tomatoes growing in simulated microgravity. And I know the Japanese have more than 20 companies that makes their space food for astronauts. So they definitely have a wide, diverse range of selections. So I'm seeing keep hearing from all the discussion panel. These are some of the highlights that's really hit me as well. So I would like to also ask Annabelle and Scarlett to give their thoughts, and of course extend a sincere gratitude towards their hard work. It's not often that we get to see the team that has supported this conference, and I have to admit we've been quite overwhelmed with inundated with a lot of great speakers and attendees. So it has been a real good experience. So I'd like to let Annabelle go first and share her thoughts and her experience during this year's ASBX.
Thank you, Josh. It's been awesome and really exciting to be a part of this year's ASBX. One of the biggest things that I've noticed is just the amount of diversity that we're seeing emerge in space research, which has been so important to me and so important to my research as well, how pushing for diversity in space travel is very much the future. And it's been particularly exciting to see all of the new and innovative biology and health studies that are going on that are actually taking this into consideration, that there is a gender gap when it comes to health research from space, and how these are things that are starting to be addressed. And I think this conference really highlights that with all these different people, and especially seeing how it's just very exciting seeing all these different crossovers in research and how it all benefits people on Earth as well, and from all different walks of life as well. So I think that's been the most inspiring and the most exciting thing so far as well. I haven't gotten through all the videos yet, so I'm sure there's more to come.
Thank you so much, Annabelle, and again, thank you for your support. And I really agree with your statement about diversity. And it is what this conference is about, is to promote diversity and of course cross collaboration. So hopefully everyone attending can feel comfortable to reach out to any of our speakers and our panelists, as well as ourselves, to share ideas or initiate different ideas or collaboration and partnership. So thank you so much. And we'll move on to Scarlett, and get her thoughts on how she felt about this year's ASBX.
Great. I mean, I'm going to try and not repeat what's already been said, I guess. But yeah, obviously the diversity has been incredible, especially from the perspective of just the different fields that have come together. Just like with the panel, you have the artist, the lawyer, and it's very much a community from all different places, and they can all bring different perspectives. I think a massive highlight as well has been the involvement of students and young scientists and young enthusiasts. Like some of the submissions we got were just incredible. And I really hope, in the future, next year, we'll be able to grow that and get more engagement in the education side of things too. Trying to think what else, like just, of course, the speakers and just the people here have been absolutely amazing. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, really. I mean, everything that needs to be said has been said. It's just been an incredible conference. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Scarlett. I know it's very hard to be last because we have a lot of great speakers before you, so they probably highlight everything. Yes, and I'd like to also give a shout out to all our young artists and young researchers. I was really blown away, and I definitely can say that with confidence I cannot draw like that. So the kudos to them. They're very creative, and I think it's also inspirational to see what they see as the future of space, and it's really, really creative. And I wouldn't be surprised that one day one of these children will become a leader in the space industry. So we get to say we foster that kid through our conference one day. So yeah, we'll hopefully continue to expand our activities in the STEM area. So I guess in closing, I have to say again, thank you to everyone, the speakers, the sponsors, all our panelists, and of course our team as well. And unfortunately, the last 2 years we've been disrupted by COVID, so we weren't able to host a lot of these our events in person. But we are really looking forward and planning ahead to hopefully next year that we'll be able to hold an in-person international event where everyone can actually come together and really experience a lot of these technologies, because there is a lot of tech and also services and solutions and products that we can physically experience that we just can't do virtually. But having said that, it has been a real exciting experience for me personally and everyone, I hope, to be able to hear from such inspirational speakers from around the world. We will also continue to keep everyone updated on our activities, and we do plan to hold more regular, maybe smaller sessions when we have great speakers to share with us. So we are expanding out the scope of our activities. So please stay tuned. Don't be a stranger. Feel free to contact us anytime. So thank you everyone again for joining ASBX, and I know the next couple of days you will still be getting my blurbs every day about all the new highlights and everything. Hope you enjoyed them, and thank you once again. Take care, stay safe, and enjoy a great Christmas and New Year, and we're looking forward to all the exciting things that's going to be happening in this space next year. So take care and see you guys all next year.
Thanks, Josh.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, everyone.